Hi everyone. So I just want to show you the basics of Photoshop. Now, what you want to do is you open up that program, and what we're going to do is create a new document. So when you click Create New, you will see that you have a lot of options over here. You can avoid that nonsense by coming over to the preset details. Preset details in this case are Project 1, and in my case, my initials are TW, so making our lives easier by initialing. I download them and I always see your initials. I know it's you. Right below that, you're going to see width. I'm going to work off of inches, and we're going to set this to letter paper size. So 11 inches wide, 8.5 inches high. Now, the resolution is currently set to 72 pixels per inch. That is low resolution. Now, while we do want our final submission to be low resolution, we want our art file, our original file, to be high quality, so that in case that you really love this piece that you're doing, that you can print it in high quality. So we'll select that resolution and set it to high resolution, which is 300. You will keep the rest of the information right where it is and click Create. Now, you have your little window. Now, what the heck does all of this stuff mean? So let me give you a little layout of the land. So in the top bar, you will see that that's the application bar. That is all of the primary information related to the program: file, creating a file, closing a file, exporting a file, editing, cutting, copying, all sorts of different features. When you're messing with the image itself, there's some important stuff in here: layer, type, select, filter, 3D, view. Windows are really important because you have so many of them available to you. And of course, help. Now, that's not the only important palette on this program. This palette right here is your tools palette. It holds most of what you need to create editing within your photo very effectively, and we'll work our way through them. The top section, the top 3 buttons with all of the things below them, if you hold down any one of these buttons, you'll see that they have multiple options below them. Any of them that have that little caret to the corner has other options. These top ones are about selecting areas, and then from there you can do what you wish with them. But it's really important to learn how to make selections so that you can edit your photos better. So then from there, we will be able to work with some image editing and some other funkier effects that allow you to create really amazing photographs and artwork. Now, anytime you switch a tool, you will notice that there's another little palette up here, and it keeps changing. That's called the options palette. The options palette switches based upon the tool that you are using. So if you're using a selection tool, you will see how you can use those selection tools to add and subtract areas, how you could feather them, how you could select and mask. If I was using a paintbrush tool, you'll see that those tools change dramatically. Like changing an actual paintbrush and its dimensions, the opacity of that brush, how it flows, and whether it smooths or not. You even have the ability to have a symmetry effect in painting. So keep that in mind when you are selected on a tool. If something doesn't seem right, perhaps you're just on the wrong tool, and just you can look around and you'll be able to see pretty quickly. Now, another part of this program are the palettes on the right. These are pretty custom after you get going a while, but there are a few that are pretty important. Number 1 is layers. Layers allows us to work with multiple different images and artwork on a layer, and will allow us to apply other effects to other layers to make this overall piece of art. In our case, we're really focusing on how to improve our photos, but for me, it's about you understanding the program, that it really is truly available to you in so many different ways. There is one whole section within this program that if you want to push yourself, here you go. You can actually learn step by step with Photoshop, it will actually bring you through the process of how you would fix a photo, how you would create different effects, how you would paint, and etc. I'm also happy to help you in any way I can. So now we have talked about the different areas of this program, its palettes. Now, and we've also talked about layers. Now, another great little area to talk about is called history. History is this little icon that's 3 boxes with an arrow shooting up. This is a fantastic location to keep track of as you move along. Right now, I haven't done anything yet, but you will see very quickly when I add in that there will be things that I have done, and it keeps track of every single move that I make within this program. So if I want to go back and delete something, or if I want to go back simply all the way back to the beginning of a project, I could do that as well. Okay, so now from here on out, this is about your project 1. So now that we've created this box for your project 1, how do we get your images from your camera or from your phone? How do we get them onto this document? The first thing you should do is make sure that you have the ability to get your images from your phone to your computer, or from your camera to your computer. Every computer and phone and every computer and camera connection is different. Some computers have the ability to connect to all sorts of devices, and others don't necessarily. Some of you may have cameras that allow you the ability to send your images via Wi-Fi. Some of your cameras will allow you to email yourself or send them via Dropbox with your camera. You can AirDrop if you have all sorts of Apple devices. I need for you to find the best way for you to load your images to your computer so that you can have them in a folder somewhere ready to go for us. In my case, I have a folder of images that allow me the ability to pull from a bunch of really pretty images very quickly. Now, I don't know that I'm going to be able to make a perfect word, but I do know that I can bring in a bunch of different images for us to play with. So for the first image, in this case, letter, we're gonna pull this one, and it looks like it's orange juice. So I select it in a folder, and I drag it, and I drop it right into Photoshop. Oop, let me get, there it is. So I will select it and drag it and drop it right over the page. This is one of the many ways that you can bring an image in to Photoshop. Now, when you drag and drop it, the computer or the program Photoshop reads it as, what is this? Okay, it's a smart object. So right now we have the ability to increase and decrease its size. We can rotate it. In this case, I think this is like a nice cue. Not that I need a cue, but it could make a really nice cue. So if I feel good about the shape, the size, I can hit enter. Now, in reality, I don't need all of that stuff around. So I could select it out, but it's still a smart object. You notice when I dragged in this image that it popped up over here in this layers palette. Well, if you didn't, now go look, you'll see there's a little image hiding right under this icon. If I move my little drink, you can see. And anytime you bring in an image into Photoshop, this will be the case. So let's bring in another one. All right, I think there's a U in here at the very least. So we have these beautiful pancakes. Again, I can size this, rotate it, and shift it around to any way that I wish. And then I can hit enter. But again, you'll see that they probably need some cropping, right? You see that they are overlapping each other. So I was here when I dragged and dropped the new image, and so it pops in right above it. You will see that happen all the time. You will always have something underneath what you drag in. The new thing that gets dragged in always goes to the top, okay? Now, you can also see that they're overlapping each other. I can drag and drop one over the other. Look at that. Ha-ha. Now, I would really like to do things to these. And so I need to change these from smart objects to pixels. So what I need to do is, on an Apple, you double click the mouse pad. On a PC, you would right click the mouse, then layer name. If you click on that, you will see about halfway down, you have what's called rasterize layer. When you select that, what that does is it allows the computer, Photoshop, to take that smart image and make it pixels. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that you can drag and drop in a whole bunch of photos, all these different smart objects, and you can select them by holding the Shift key and clicking a whole selection of images, and you can rasterize them all at the same time too, okay? So keep that in mind. Now that these are pixels, we can do all sorts of things with them. In this case, I simply want to select an area and delete the artwork or the image that's around it because I don't want it anymore. So I'm going to click and drag and let go a box, a rectangular marquee box. This makes a selection in the shape of a rectangle. Now what we want to do is we actually want to select the inverse of this. Now, the easiest way to do that is to go up to your top nav bar, select the inverse. And so when you select the inverse of most things, you're going to see something along these lines. You're going to see the dotted marching line, and then you're also going to see the dotted marching line on the outermost edge of the page. That is an indicator that you have the inverse set. Now, if you have that set the way that I do, you can click delete. When you click delete, look, it deleted it for you. Now, if you've done everything that you wanted there, you can stop and go back up to select and click deselect. And that allows you to keep on moving and selecting another layer and doing more selections. If you find that you can't move, that you can't do anything, everything's stuck, just do me a favor, hit button enter. And eventually, I have a feeling you will be able to move again, okay? So let's do that again. In this case, I'm thinking that I want to rotate it again. How do I do that? Well, there's this fantastic tool, and it's a key command that it's worth its weight in gold to know. Command T or Control T on a PC. When you click Command T, that is what's called free transform. Free transform allows you to scale, rotate, skew, shift, and proportion. So in this case, I want to rotate it, and I want to increase, its size, and then I hit enter to set that. I'm going to select that rectangular marquee tool again. I'm going to select the area I want to keep. I go up to select, and I select the inverse, and I click delete. And then, because I'm done, I'll go to select, deselect. Now it's still a little big for me, so I want to click and go Control T, free transform. But if you're like, Trish, I don't remember key commands, it's okay. Under edit, halfway down is free transform. And if you're like, I don't want free transform, Trish, that's too many options. Under transform has all of the options that you can do in free transform, okay? So just keep that in mind. But again, Control T is really one of my favorites because it really does give you everything you need there. Now you see when I deleted that, it left a little extra on the edge. It will not magically delete stuff off of the page that you didn't select. So you do have to come back in and click and delete. Now, did you notice that? I can actually select areas and click delete also. Pretty fun, right? So let's do this one last time. Select one more image. Drag and drop that image. And again, we can size this. And if we're close enough, that's great. Now again, I have to make sure that it's a rasterized layer to play with it. And see how I've gotten already ahead of myself and gotten into a bad habit. Look at all these things. They just are named whatever the file name is that I dragged and dropped them in. I should probably, I can double click on it and I can rename it. So that could be a Q. And this one, I don't even know what it was. I think it was pancakes. I honestly must say, this is one of the more important things for you to get into the habit of, because when you have 10 or 20 or 30 layers of imagery and you're peering into your screen and these tiny little icons to see if what is what, you don't want to be doing that. If you name them, at least something that you can use or can remember, it's worth its weight in gold to do that, okay? All right, let's trim this beautiful image down. So again, we're going to use the rectangular marquee tool to crop it to the best part of the photo. Again, in this case, I'm not working with my letter forms like you are. So I'm selecting my area and then I'm going to select the inverse to delete it. Click delete. Come on. You know you want to delete. Let me try that again. So select my area. Sometimes you got to make sure that you're on the right layer too. I'm on the right layer. And I'm going to select the inverse and click delete. There you go. And then we go select, deselect. Ta-da. Now we can move it around some more. Now, if I needed to rotate it again, free transform, edit, free transform, allows me lots of flexibility. If I hold my shift key, by the way, it gives you 45-degree increments, and I'll tell you that is worth its weight in gold when you're working and you want to have a nice alignment. So now, they don't have to align perfectly in your project. I just wanted to show you how that could work. Now, what about for those of you that are just like, but I want it perfect in between and above? Look, there's all sorts of alignment tools in here, my friends. If you select multiple things, you see how I did that? I clicked and dragged. That's a nice feature of Photoshop these days. You can see the layers that were chosen. And you could, if you really wanted to, do some of this alignment and distribution of spacing, but it's not as ideal as you might think. I won't lie. It thinks differently than we do, okay? So now I have this beautiful file. What do I do with it, Trish? Well, you want to save an original file, which is a native file type to Photoshop, so, right? It's called a .psd file. So when you save this, when you just click save or file save, this is what will pop up. Project 1, and in this case, I do want project 1, and that's my name. I like keeping spacing to a minimum. And yes, I want it in Photoshop. Yes, I want that. Save. That's the easiest part of this because it saves everything for you. It saves the layers. It saves what you've done to the layers. Keep in mind, you can't like go back in the history of it, but it saves everything you need to keep working on it. Now, so I just tweaked a tiny little bit. I can go Command S, right, or Control S and save it, or go up here and File, Save. The other thing you would want to do though, right, is no one else can open a PSD. So what you want to get used to is learning how to save a JPEG, okay? Now, there's a couple ways to do it. My favorite, just because it's super easy to do the save, is I go export save for web. And it's a legacy thing, but it's fine. It's good. And what it does is it brings it into this program where you can actually look at it and see its quality. What we want to do is start from the top and work our way down. Make sure it's a JPEG. You can keep it at maximum quality. As long as this image size down here, as long as one of these says 800 or 600 or 800, I'm happy, okay? Because what happens at that size is that it's a low enough resolution so that you could upload a whole bunch of these throughout the semester and not take up your space on the Canvas platform. And also, it's just big enough that everybody can see it really easily on the phone, and it's not going to blow up so huge on a screen that we have to scroll around, okay? So I'll click Save. And again, this is my JPEG of this, and so you'll save again, and there you go. You're done with project 1 layout. And so you would then post that to the forum for us to review, and we'll give you some feedback. In the case of this particular project, the focus here is focus, your crop of the image, allowing you to see the letters and the word to the best of their ability, and how you connect the word to the images themselves. So keep that in mind. We're going to keep moving through Photoshop as the weeks go along. I hope all is well with you. Be well.